a lot of the earlier panelists and speakers have talked about quality of healthcare, and we're speaking about patient-centered outcomes this afternoon. And I think the choice of putting me first in this particular panel must have been predicated by my very varied experience. Immediately after my PhD, I came back to pioneer the Health Policy Research and Development Unit at the National Assembly. And there, what we tried to do was to pioneer an evidence-based approach to policy making. While we were there, we did one of the first KAP studies in Ebola when we had people bathing and drinking salt water. And we felt that there wasn't enough being done in health communication, how people receive and process information in a health emergency. And that was very well received. And, you know, quality and evidence-based are twins, as I'm sure you'll all agree with me. From there, I moved on to the Pharmaceutical Manufacturers Group. The PMG MAN for short is the umbrella body of 140 local manufacturers who produce medicines in Nigeria. And PMG MAN, one of its claim to fame is that they worked with partners to ensure that 4 companies in Nigeria received WHO certification within a very short time. And if WHO certification doesn't talk about how good, you know, the quality of your process or your products are, then, you know, I don't know what will. From there, I moved on to NIPRID. And as you know, the National Institute for Pharmaceutical Research and Development has been there for just over 3 decades. It's one of the most well-resourced institutes of its kind in this region. We have close to 70 masters and PhDs, all working towards improving research and development in the pharma sector. And, you know, there's international evidence to suggest that we're on the right path. NIPRID was one of the first institutes to gain both the ISO 9001 and the ISO 17025. And those of you that know about quality know that ISO certifications are definitely credible evidence that you're doing world standard work. We're also the first one to sustainably transit from the earlier version of the ISO 17025 to the latest version. And so this short introduction I've given of myself and NIPRID hasn't been an exercise in narcissism. It's my belief that before you listen to someone, you need to know where they're coming from. You need to understand their ontology. You need to understand their epistemology. There are several statements I'll be making during my presentation that this introduction will help you understand, you know, what direction I'm coming from. So I'm going to talk a bit about quality. We've all been listening to various perspectives of what quality is and what quality means to our setting. But I think we need to roll back, you know, a bit earlier from, you know, assuming that quality, and, you know, when I say quality, I mean the conventional concept of quality. We need to roll back a bit to understand how quality, the concept of quality actually influences our setting. And I'm going to talk about the chlorhexidine example, something that happened in Nigeria about 4 or 5 years ago. Then I'm going to talk about strategies that we can use to ensure that when we're adopting quality concepts, we're doing it in a way that ensures that it improves our setting. And then I'll bring it back to NIPRID to tell you what NIPRID has been doing to add to the entire discourse. And so, about 5 years ago, one of the well-known United Nations bodies brought in chlorhexidine into Nigeria and I think used it in several states in the northern part of Nigeria. And for some reason, people were blinded because they didn't use the chlorhexidine well. The chlorhexidine that was brought into Nigeria at that point in time, knowing the body that brought chlorhexidine in, would have been WHO pre-qualified, obviously. It would have gotten all the ISO certifications that, it needed to have before that particular agency procured it and brought it into Nigeria. But when it came into Nigeria, did the chlorhexidine actually lead to improved patient outcomes? There are about 7 to 10 people whose children were blinded by chlorhexidine being put in their eyes instead of being put on their navel, that will tell you that those outcomes weren't improved. And there is evidence to suggest that this didn't only happen in Nigeria. And so I've pulled out 1 or 2 newspaper cuttings. It's not very clear, but the one that has what you need to know about the Yobe eye drop story actually has the author of that particular article in the room. And the general consensus was that even though we were bringing in world standard chlorhexidine into Nigeria, our setting wasn't quite ready for how that particular product came into Nigeria. So that particular product was imported from an Asian country. And it came as a liquid instead of as gel. And there was the assumption that people who were going to use that particular product were literate. They would read the product information leaflet and know that it's meant to be put on the navel rather than it's meant to be put in the eyes. But what a lot of people don't know, there's actually a backstory to this chlorhexidine issue, which maybe 1 or 2 people in the room may be privileged to be aware of, is that at the time this particular agency was bringing in chlorhexidine, there was already a Nigerian company manufacturing chlorhexidine. And the Nigerian company which was manufacturing chlorhexidine didn't have all those qualifications and certifications and, laurels that the imported one had. But that company understood that they were practicing, that they were operating in an environment where people are not as literate as is assumed, and had pictorials. That company also understood that in Nigeria, if you're putting something in a small bottle, a 5 ml or 10 ml bottle, people will instinctively think it's an eye drop or an ear drop. And if it's liquid, then that validates what they're saying. But if it's a gel, then they will take a step backwards to say, oh, I've never seen an eye drop or an ear drop that comes as a gel. But because the conversation totally neglected contextualization of quality and standards in health, That company didn't get the order to supply, and the imported one came in. I think the WHO, there was a report that showed that this didn't just happen only in Nigeria. I think there are about 7 other countries, which share similar characteristics as Nigeria that this happened. And there are other stories like this. A few weeks ago, I think it's about the time that I received the invitation to speak at this particular forum, there was a video circulating about the parliament in Uganda that talked about imported condoms and how those imported condoms were not suitable for the purposes that they were meant to be used. And these are imported condoms which were brought in by development partners. They have all the certifications. But they were not manufactured in a setting where people know that there is a possibility that you may need to account for the size of Ugandan men compared to the size of the men who are in these countries where those condoms are manufactured. And for people who know about the pathophysiology of HIV/AIDS, if you don't cover the entire phallus, even if that particular product is WHO doubly pre-qualified, it will not work. And so we start asking, how do we now ensure that our setting is suitably prepared for this quality discussion? And there are many ways, I'm sure. But due to the time limits, obviously, and because I'm very aware of this method, I will only talk about a PhD. Doing contextual research degrees in your setting is one very effective, cost-efficient, and effective means of, demonstrating if the particular product or the particular intervention you're considering is suitable for your setting. And in Nigeria, if we ask, are we thinking about this model? The answer is no. The extract I've put up there is something that was published about 5 years ago. And the evidence suggests that we have a deficit of about 60% of PhDs. And so if we're talking about quality, how are we contextualizing the evidence? Are we doing enough? And so I'll now come to NIPRID's experience with this particular model that I'm talking about. In NIPRID, what we focus on is trying to better understand the context in which we operate in. And then we now work a system where the quality discussion is infused into that system. So it's obviously world standard quality we're talking about. Quality is uniform, no matter where you get it from. But you have to ensure that the context into which you're introducing the quality is suitable to adopt that quality and use it to run. One of the key issues we've found in making the quality argument is the total separation from quality in healthcare as regards the value that that particular intervention is bringing to the picture. And what we've found from the NIPRID experience is that when we use the systems approach to talk about quality, but also demonstrate that the introduction of quality into the system will also provide a stimulus for socio-economic development. That introduction of quality will also help you create jobs. That introduction of quality will also help you build capacity of people who didn't have capacity. And if it's in a setting where things are produced, that particular discussion about quality will also help to earn revenue for government. And when you frame the quality discussion in this manner, you find stakeholders more interested in buying into your quality discussion. So disregard the very few number of tweets on this. This is something we're doing with Kaduna State, where we've said that the eucalyptus that's being imported into Nigeria is of good quality. But NIPRID also has the technology to extract, formulate, and bottle eucalyptus. And Kaduna State has somewhere around 6,000 to 8,000 hectares of eucalyptus already existing. So we can build a world-class quality eucalyptus plant in Kaduna State. And we're introducing quality into the discussion, but we're also producing medicines and phyto-medicinal products that will enable people in Kaduna have more jobs. Local people will have their capacity built, and Kaduna State can earn revenue from this. So this is one example of what we've done in Nigeria, in NIPRID, as regards the quality contextualization I've just spoken about. This is a second example. So traditional medicine practice is something which the Indians and the Chinese have looked into and sort of like mainstreamed into their healthcare delivery. And based on this particular move, China and India have increased access to their population, while at the same time expedited socioeconomic development. India makes close to $1 billion US from neem as a director indica every year. And in Nigeria here, we also have neem. In fact, there is some emerging study that says that the quality of neem we have here in Nigeria is more than the quality of neem that they have there in India. However, in Nigeria, we only use our neem for shade. And so the chaps at Burkina Faso heard about some of the things that they're doing, and that's a tweet I made when two of their researchers came to NIPRID to take a course on quality assurance and quality control in traditional medicine practice. So that's another example of what we're doing in NIPRID as regards using the systems approach to ensure that while quality is being brought in, other socio-economic indices that are required to be developed in the system are also being done. And so NIPRID obviously remains committed to ensuring that we can contribute to not just improving access to healthcare in Nigeria, but also at the same time using a systems approach, ensuring that we also, contribute to the socioeconomic development of the country. And I've mentioned PhDs here. I will have you know that NIPRID has the capacity to host as many PhDs as will. I wouldn't ask people to put up their hands if they don't have a PhD here, because I know there's several of my ogas I've been speaking to about PhDs that haven't quite started. But the Nigeria Health Watch has been doing a lot of good work in putting out peer-reviewed publications. That is one definite route to getting a PhD. But NIPRID is open for collaboration. Our mandate is very broad. It's not just research, it's also development. And we're happy to sit down with people to talk more on this model of infusing quality into socioeconomic development. Thank you.